everybody, and welcome back to another ARPneuro Q&A. I like seeing Matthew's big smile on the other end. I'm Jake, I'm the trainer, and with us, as always, is our CEO, Matt Dell.
It's all about that new intro. I love the little slide. I mean, you're always getting creative, Jake. I love it.
Little zingers here and there. We try to make it a little more exciting.
Yeah, I am excited. We've got a great guest tonight who I understand is stuck in traffic, so this is perfect. I know nothing about our guest. I have not had a chance to even spend 10 seconds with the guest, so that's always good. It's going to be fresh. For those on tonight, tell us a little bit of who we've got, who our guest is. Maybe if you want to share his bio, and then I also see some interesting things in your background. You've changed your studio there.
Little bit. We have a new jersey. Trevor Harris, anybody who's been watching us knows that he's been on our show a few times. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the CFL currently, and he recently got injured, unfortunately. 3 weeks in a row, he was undefeated, and he was actually leading the league in passing, and he was having his best game 3. And it was just kind of a freak way that the lineman fell on his opposite knee, not the tibial plateau fracture of his right. This one was on his left. And so we're going through it. He's about 80% torn on the MCL, 35% torn on the ACL. Now they're giving him 8 weeks. We think we can get him back in less.
Are you kidding me? This is news to me. Are you serious? He got hurt again?
He did, and it was a shame because, like I said, he was having his best game. He passed. It was a second quarter. He passed. He had 7 different completions with 7 different receivers. And anybody who knows anything about football is normally you have a quarterback, they have their go-to guy. He basically was picking the defense apart, just to make it pretty clear. He was having a great game. And it was just a pass down the sidelines. He got it off. He delivered it well, but then the lineman hit him right at the end and fell on his knee awkwardly.
Unbelievable. Wow. That's a shocker. I got to tell you, it's like, whatever these guys get paid, and whether it's collegiate football, high school football, NFL, CFL, NBA, I mean, MLB, I mean, the damage that they're doing to their bodies is absolutely unbelievable. And so
they're true warriors. And that's the thing. These days, I just don't see, even if it's not our device, I don't see how your career can survive if you're working on some sort of direct current wave going through movements to get back faster. Otherwise, you're going to get left in the dust, because that's one of the reasons why they're able to cut a lot of this in half.
Wow.
And I see it time and time again, especially with Trevor. He's 38 years old, and the doctor is already impressed after the first week on how much he's recovered from his MCL.
And he's using the RX now on the new injury.
We have been, since the injury, we've been meeting up every day.
Holy
missed a day. He's a workhorse, and we're okay to push him as long as.
No wonder why you got a jersey. You're his rock star. You're in his corner.
Always, yeah. We're all in his corner.
Do you have that video? It's funny. Do you have the one that shows the before after? I think we posted it somewhere, but I'd love to see that.
Yeah, let me see if I can share my screen going into, let's see. Let me know if you can see this. Can you see that portion?
You see that? Yep.
Okay, and now I'm going to go here. Tell me. You see this?
Yep.
Can you hear it?
Full screen, yep.
Takes the snap, settles down in the pocket, looks downfield to the end zone, he's got it. Sean May with the touchdown. Riders go on top.
Who cut behind the center and throw the short yardage, frees up Trey just to run the game.
There he's in the end zone, and he's got May. Second of the game for Sean May. How will that go from Trevor?
Exactly.
He's going to throw, and he's going to look down the field. Oh my goodness, what a finish!
Truthfully, Jake Cousins, he's the head trainer at ARPneuro, became a super close friend of mine.
So that's unbelievable stuff.
I cannot believe he got hurt again. I'm shocked, in complete shock. But anyways, love that you got the jersey. Love that you're continuing to help him. This technology obviously has helped. It's so many, as you call them, warriors, and even weekend warriors like myself. I mean, I was just on vacation, did a 3.5 hour hike in Montana. Fantastic, beautiful country, loved it. And then I woke up the next day and I was extremely, extremely sore. And I literally thought, I'm not going to be able to hike. I put the PRS on, blood flow all the way to the drive through Yellowstone, an entire day. And it was incredible, the recovery I had on my left foot. So
I'm so proud of you that you're using it, and now you can speak to it. And one thing I'll say, just on the record, the doctors are giving him 8 weeks. I am very confident knowing him and what this technology has done in the past. I think we can do it in 4.
So how many more games do they have in the season?
Oh, there's still like 15 games. And then, of course, he's going to make the playoffs and go into winning the championship. So he's got a lot of time to come back and still crush records.
Love it. Well, let's get going. I mean, I want to hear about our guest. Give me a little background. Who do we got tonight?
So this doctor is a co-founder and doctor of physical therapy at Mankind Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine in Irvine, California. He's earned his BA in Kinesiology and Psychology from Whittier College and his doctor from physical therapy from the University of Southern California. With extensive experience in high school, collegiate, and professional sports settings, he has worked with athletes from the NFL, MLB, Bellator, and various other disciplines. He served as Director of Rehabilitation at Beach City's Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, specializing in the overhead athlete and post-surgical management. A former Division I state championship linebacker, he also led USC's Multicultural Leadership Alliance, supporting PT mission trips and scholarships. Passionate about global outreach, he has provided physical therapy service in the Philippines, Costa Rica, and Mexico. He has also recently incorporated the ARPneuro Therapy into his practice at Mankind. So everyone, please welcome Dr. Jason Manalili. And I hope I said that right. I hope I didn't butcher that on you.
Did he butcher that, Doc?
You know what? That was perfect. It's like you rehearsed it. So
Well, welcome.
Awesome. Yeah. It's been great. And obviously hearing your stories out there with different football seasons. It's fun to have the UFL and XFL and Canadian Football League, all these different types of football to watch in preparation for what we have coming in. And obviously Harris's story is incredible, and seeing what he's able to do. It's cool to see everyone going through all different types of rehab for, getting back into full function and understanding what unique formula works for everybody. So it's exciting to be here with you guys today.
Appreciate your time. And it is amazing to hear Trevor's story, and we want to hear from some of the stories. I mean, these guys, these professional athletes, earn every single nickel that they are paid. I mean, they are taking lives off of, it's amazing the amount of abuse that they take. It's pretty scary, quite frankly. And then to be able to have a technology to kind of get them back into the game, because their lives are so short in the professional athlete. But let's talk a little bit about you and your background. That was an impressive bio. Holy
yeah. It's something that just develops, and there's stuff you leave in, stuff you take out, and it's fun. It's we kind of we fell into the overhead athlete population over here in Irvine in Orange County, and then we used to have a very deep love and affiliation with the football scene. So the cool thing about ARPneuro is we're able to utilize it in every capacity. It's not specific towards one population, and that's with regard to age, it's with regard to physical activity, it's with regard to status, whether you're post-operative or about to throw a pen in 20 minutes. So it's really cool to have you guys helping out with this.
Yeah, it is amazing technology. We can never. I mean, just hearing all the great outcomes is always just a refreshing. We've got so many stories that I love hearing. It's interesting because I even played golf this Sunday with a guy who was trying to get, he's got to get knee replaced. He's still out there banging balls, and I just met him for the first time. And when I tried to explain, hey, listen, we've got this clinic, you should go get in. You go, get this new technology. It's like deer in headlights, because his orthopedic surgeon's not talking about it. Nobody else is talking about it. He's not a pro athlete that has heard about it in the locker room or seen it. It's just, why do you think this is still such the best kept secret, in recovery?
Yeah. Oh man, it's funny that you say that, because we took a golf trip up to Napa this past weekend, and it's so easy to put that PRS in your unit, or that PRS in your bag, and outside of having it inside the clinic, being able to show, because every golfer you go out with, nobody's showing up 30 minutes early and hitting the range, right? Everyone's showing right before tee time, and to be able to access every time someone wants to golf with the physical therapist, they try to look for the quick fix, and hey, okay, just activate this post cuff really quickly. Let's go ahead and put on this unit on your adductors and get it on your post cuff, and just teach you where you want to create tension. And it's fun. It's fun to bring that up, and so many different capacities too. So to be able to utilize this and the simplicity of it, we don't have to navigate through any specific, through every single thing. Doesn't have to be, okay, let's go ahead and set this at this specific level. Let's go ahead and set the frequency at this and the pulse at this. It's just, okay, let's keep it simple. Can you do this? And I think a lot of where the carryover lies is the simplicity of them being, our athletes being able to take it home and repeat the same thing that they did inside the clinic. So that's pretty unique characteristic of the PRS, or even the big unit. So
yeah, I agree. I think I was even intimidated by the RX, and obviously as doctors, you guys are dealing with it on a daily basis. Jake is a rock star. He knows that technology. It is intimidating. And then once you start just getting it for one condition, and we're even finding this with a lot of our clinics across the country, that they'll use it for one condition, or maybe 5 conditions, and they slowly start getting educated by some of these Q&As that somebody's using it for, a multitude of conditions that they haven't even thought of. And then it's slowly growing inside of their practice. But even individuals now that need the RX capacity, it's not as challenging. But to your point, the PRS, that's as easy to use. It's a game changer. I don't know if you heard, I know you were stuck in traffic, but I just got back from a week vacation in Montana, and did this overachieved 3.5 hour hike, and woke up, and I was like pretty banged up. And it wasn't the uphill, it's the downhill that you don't ever prepare for. And I thought, I am done for the week. I cannot believe I'm not going hiking. And I threw the PRS on for the entire day, driving through Yellowstone, walking around, blood flow for the entire ride home. Woke up the next day, and it was as if nothing was wrong. I could not believe it. So I'm a living testament to that as well.
And Dr. Jason, this is a big step for him to be to be able to do anything a little bit more complicated than a remote control.
Yeah.
To get by the way, I did not call Jake. I didn't call Jake, which I normally would, asking for pad placements. I actually kind of figured out, because we did learn, it's like, you basically, it's black to red, and you want to get that kind of cleaned up in between the black and the red, is basically as simple as it gets.
Yeah.
And fire up that stuff. But let's talk a little bit more about your background. I want to, USC, is that where you, sounds like you played some football?
Yeah. So backtracking it, I played football, and we grew up. So I'm a Southern California native.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up here. I didn't leave the bubble, and went to Whittier College and played football there for 4 years.
Okay.
It was Richard Nixon's alma mater, and when he was on there, supposedly they beat UCLA 100-1 or 100-0. And obviously, being a poet, we don't look too deep into the details. So if it happened, awesome. If it didn't happen, don't let me know about it. So, and then from there, I took on a lot of just different roles. It's such a small school, and we had a lot of an ability to access conversations with our professors. And it's funny, we actually just went back to a president's meeting with them about a month ago, and they had a whole group of future physical therapists, clinicians, future chiropractors, future physicians assistants, all in the room, and to be able to communicate with us and develop this network has been really cool. So with that, I went on to USC and played. And when I say I played football there, it was in the quad out in front of the Health Science Center.
Okay, good.
With the rest of my classmates.
Okay.
but we got some experience. So we obviously got to hang out with the different sports on campus, from the rec sports to the actual Division I scholarship recipients, and then from there went over to Redondo Beach, and it's funny because Jeff Emery, he's obviously a big portion of why it's in Mankind specifically, but he actually had a relationship with a chiropractor down at the South Bay, and Julian Moan, who owns a few of the RX units, and we heard about ARPneuro and ARP Wave at the time when the surgeons, we worked in a group of practice where there were 8 or 9 surgeons on site, and anytime they had clients and patients that needed this specific setting, it was its own treatment in itself, and we paired up really well. So after that, went over to into Orange County, and my family moved down here, and then we embedded ourselves in the Chapman baseball compound. So it's a 15,000 square foot facility with hitting, pitching, strength and conditioning, and then we also have a mental performance coach on site, and so it's cool to have access to so many different levels of activity out there. So now we're in this funky phase where we primarily treat the overhead athlete, but at the same time we get a ton of soccer players, unique sports like we mentioned, our combat sports, and then equestrians, ice skaters, soccer players, you kind of name it. It's all in there. We can challenge everyone with this unit.
Awesome. Statistically, how many how many athletes are you working performance with the ARP technology, and how many are you rehabbing, if you had to guess?
That's a great question. So at the facility, we're an out-of-network practice, so we are one-on-one with the person the whole time. Okay. So technically, we use the ARPneuro. Throwing out numbers, we have a deep population, everyone from people that just had surgery to, like I talked about, people that are about to get on the mound, and we're able to separate and segment our sessions within the session. So we get a full hour with them, and beyond that hour, they'll stay in the facility and they'll go through their recovery services. They'll go through their exercises. If we take them through a circuit or two, they'll continue to do their exercises. So it's fun because we have the capacity to, let's go ahead and organize this. And we set up a calendar for each client, and each client comes in within that hour. Obviously, what did you do yesterday? I long tossed. And then today's a low intensity day. And tomorrow I have another hybrid B where I'm working off plyometric patterns. I have, a weighted ball series. I have, light catch play. So to find them and capture them when they're in front of us is one thing. And then we take a step back and we say, this is what your calendar looks like Sunday through Saturday. And you have the ability to let me know, on Sunday is a rest day for me. Monday is a high intensity day. Tuesday is a low intensity day. Then we pick it back up, and we have different columns set up for them too. So, this is what you're doing with rehabilitation. This is what you're doing with your lifting coach. This is what you're doing on the pitching side of things. This is what you're doing on the hitting side of things, or soccer players. This is when you're practicing. This is when you're in the weight room. And then this is when you're on your running schedule. We have the ability for them to come in and utilize the facility even between sessions. And that's where, on your recovery days, you're doing your ARPneuro setting with circulation and the Normatex. On your high intensity days, you've got the cross symmetry patterns where you're activating in this oblique sling, and this is what you're doing on those days, circuit 1, circuit 2, circuit 3, with the ARP setting and the blood flow restriction. So it's just honestly just become a modality as common as any other one. So we utilize it in 100% of our clients. It's a matter of what day they fall into physical therapy with.
Okay, good. Jake, I'm going to challenge you again. I don't know. You pulled this off the last time. Now I'm intrigued. I got to see a picture of your facility. So hopefully, do you have any good pictures on the website or your website?
Let's check it out.
I'll let him do that. But while he's kind of pulling that up, let me ask you, when did you first hear about direct current technology? Because now it's starting to become a little bit more accepted in around the United States. But tell me a little bit about how you first heard about direct technology and ARPneuro.
That's perfect. Jake, I'll give you a little little leeway, but or lead. But if you go to our Instagram, you can see that. If you go to Chapman Baseball Compound's Instagram, you can find some info on that. So direct current, obviously, that's something we studied. We had a whole course. It was a 6-week course in grad school where we utilized technology and understood different wave currents and how your monophasic waves have an influence on this specific portion of rehabilitation. Your biphasic currents have an influence on this. Your Russian stimulation has an influence on this. So it's definitely something that we had to whip our notes back out every time we get a new unit. We're like, okay, let's go ahead and reflect back on what we learned and how it was introduced to us. And then obviously that was back in 2011, 2013, whatever it was, whenever we took that course. And what does the research say about it now that it's 10 years, 15 years later? And how do we make it effective? And what is it most effective with? So the cool thing about this is we're able to utilize these currents just as we learned it. And it first introduced specifically to ARPneuro in let's say, gosh, that was 2017 with Julia's clinic over there in the South Bay.
Okay. Awesome. I like what you're showing here. This is your Instagram page, I'm guessing, or you?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Oh man, who's that good-looking guy right there in the middle?
There it is. Yep.
All right, I love it. Look at this guy. Perfect.
Yep.
And yeah, that's good stuff. So, are you guys pretty active on social media then? And how do you get most of your clients? Is it word of mouth, or what's? See if you can find one of the facility. I'd love to see.
Yeah. And these are all cover photos, but if you click on any of the reels or anything like that, it'll kind of take you through different so they'll check that out. As far as the
nice
population, we have everything from clients that were referred over us, and most of it is word of mouth. We haven't put a ton of funding into marketing because we're worried about what that could bring when we need to make sure that we have our feet on the ground. But we've developed such a great network, man. We have such a hardworking group of athletes, and their parents are incredible, and their parents send their teammates over. We work with a handful of surgeons throughout the Orange County area, and they'll if they know they have somebody that is dealing specifically with overhead athletes, they'll send our way. And then the more the clients that they get under our belt, the more they realize it's not just baseball players that we're treating. And so it's fun.
That's great. Sounds like you've got some pretty good professional athletes too. Do they come in and do some training with you as well, or?
Yeah. So a part of it is seasonal. Obviously we take care of a lot of our guys that live in Orange County and stay in the area, but we have a lot of professional athletes, like in every category. My partner just had the USA badminton coach and one of our athletes in the facility yesterday, and we have like we talked about, high school kids that converted into college kids are now professionals, or professional capacity in golf or long driving. And it's cool being in this field because we are not specialists in every sport and activity that you can imagine, but as soon as we realize that someone's on our schedule that we need to be specialists in, then we'll go ahead and make sure that we learn everything you could possibly learn about it from the PT side of things.
Yeah, that's great. And plus you get to see these athletes kind of grow and prosper in the collegiate level and then the pro level. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, really cool. And we're just like like we talked about ARPneuro being such a staple in our practice. We're just one element of each athlete. So without the network that we've created, even in-house at the Chapman Baseball Compound, or we're over at UCI, and we take care of a lot of their athletes on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, taking care of their baseball team, track, field, cross country, and water polo. Without the help from the athletic trainers that we have at their strength coaches, our job would be a lot harder because we don't know a lot about everything.
Yeah.
But to just being able to approach the athlete from so many different angles is huge, right? So some clinicians know their athlete way better than we do, and we're just part of it. And how do they respond best to it? Some coaches know the athlete a lot better than we do. It's just, okay, this is what I'm seeing. How do I implement it? And this is how we're going to address it in the clinic. So really cool.
And tell me a little bit. I always love to ask this question. Some of those wow moments, right? I mean, the outcomes are incredible. You've got probably a multitude of stories, but when I ask you, give us a couple of the top ones that come to mind of whether it was performance based and somebody was throwing, 2-3 miles an hour faster, or even rehab story that you thought, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah. There's one, I tell this story all the time, by the way, because obviously when we had Jeff come in, and it's like, you go to Costco and you find there's a guy with a knife and say, oh man, okay, he's making that look really clean. Those knives look way better than I do, but obviously this is his job. He knows how to do it. Am I going to get the same influence when I try to replicate the same model on my own? But Jeff showed us so you wrap your foot up and you submerge it in water, and you have that aquatic current going through your body, and say, okay, well, one of our athletes, he tested it on, and he was ankle sprain. I think he was 2 days out of an ankle sprain. His ankle was the size of a softball. Put it on, and obviously submerged his foot in the water for 15 minutes, and then told him to walk around on it after. And obviously, the offloading it and the exercises he was doing in the tub was one thing. But so we tried to have an influence on it and do the same thing. We had an athlete come in, and they had an open wound on the one portion of their leg that just stubborn. Right? It's not healing the way it needs to. Okay, this is annoying because we should be doing X, Y, and Z, and we're being limited because this wound wouldn't heal. So we put it on the direct current, and it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like anything's happening. It doesn't, it's not, no muscles are contracting, and she's not in any discomfort. But you can start to see after a minute or two, blood just starting to open up, those pores starting to open up, and that wound wasn't submerged in the water or anything like that. But just the fact that you can see that going without feeling anything or seeing anything was my wow moment. I think that's when I got bought in for sure.
That's a great story, because so many people ask, gosh, when you can't feel the blood flow, right? You just can't feel it.
Yeah.
Other than unless you take the pad off, you can feel a little tingle. So you're kind of like, is this really working? That's the best description of physically seeing the blood flow working. So that's a great story. I'm gonna have to use that story as my own now.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, anytime you get a wound, just
exactly. That's impressive.
Yeah.
What other stories can you share with us that come to mind?
Yeah. So there's a couple. We love the search and destroy. Everyone that thinks so, we call it the search and destroy. I don't know if that's the technical term for it, but obviously we have the the wet sponge technique, where you're analyzing the body and getting an understanding of what the current looks like, the neural current looks like at each segment, each muscle, and finding areas that twitch and aren't are either overly fatigued or just the neural input to there is just highly sensitive. Desensitizing that has been big. The other component is identifying those spots and creating this immediate feedback has been incredible. So one of our techniques we use, one of our guys, he's like 6'8", he's on the mound, he's got all sorts of drills, he's in there for hours and hours, and Jeff was actually in the facility there also, but we set him up with the adductor trap combo with the big RX unit, and we had him just doing slow motion, just literally, okay, go ahead and slow motion into your stride, open up that stride, and feel what it feels like, and as slow as he possibly could go. He said he felt like he was getting an incredible workout just simply with that. But seeing him sweat from that was pretty sweet. Because in our job, in our roles as physical therapists, we have our sports performance coaches and our strength coaches designated for those high intensity days. So if they have a high intensity day on a Monday and they see us on a Tuesday, it's hard for us to say, okay, you're gonna have another high intensity day with us today, and then another one on Wednesday. So for us to have the capacity to be able to do something where the muscle fibers aren't tearing in our session, but still feeling like they're getting challenged and raising their threshold is spectacular. So we use that in combination with blood flow restriction almost daily.
That's great. Yeah, that search and destroy is such a game changer, because one of the things that I learned immediately was the origin of pain is so not the problem.
Yeah,
That's,
right.
That's so.
Yeah.
99% of society, weekend warriors like myself walking around there, think, oh, my knee's messed up, or my elbow, or my shoulder. Until you understand how this technology works, that's just the origin of pain. But the issue really is something that's not firing, something that's not working. And the fact that this technology can allow it for you to scan it, to find the tissue that isn't firing, or understand, okay, this is where we need, to focus on to get that area strengthened, to alleviate the pain and to get it functioning, is probably one of the biggest game changers. It's still hard for me to conceptualize that my shoulder hurts, but it's really not my shoulder. What are your thoughts on that search and destroy? Have you found where even yourself, knowing as educated as you are, that you're like, wow, this is helped you in some rehab type scenarios?
Oh, absolutely. And in those cases, we had a case today, right? He came in and, he's been dealing with the shoulder issue, and it's not like he's been dealing with it forever, but we did a few quick tests and identified that it was the back of his shoulder, his infraspinatus, or, post cuff. And we told him right off the bat, hey, this is a deceleration issue, and the shoulder is what hurts, but truly this is a deceleration issue stemming from what's going on down below, right? Are you able to sink into that right hip? Are you able to utilize that core and do your exercise like you've been needing to? So just pointing that out alone is one thing. But the search and destroy, followed up with the activation patterns that you put on those segments that you find, has been really helpful, because some of the guys that come in, they are on a restriction to where they can't utilize that arm, whether it's because of surgery or they're limited because the level of discomfort they're feeling. So to be able to challenge them in a workout that is going to have an influence on that origin, that shoulder, like we're talking about, by accessing a neural deficit at their right hip or their right hamstring or right quad, is really special, because we can, obviously you're unrestricted with that when it comes down to a non-involved limb. So it's pretty special.
Yeah, and that's a great explanation of it, because so many athletes that are trying to do whatever it is, whether it's overhead, is in your case like a thrower or a pitcher or whatever, that compensation that they have because they might have a breakdown, they don't even realize it, because they're just compensating to try to do the maximum, whether it's a pitcher or whatever, and to find those breakdowns or that compensation and then strengthen it. They now don't have that compensation anymore, and now they're really functioning at 100%. Great story. How have you, over the time, I mean, Jeff and our team and Jake, tell me your experience, like using the technology and learning different protocols and learning. Obviously there's no wrong way of doing things. It's an art, in my opinion. I think it's an art, but tell me a little bit about your experience working with our team, or just experimenting on your own to try to get to, helping all the different athletes in all the different sports.
Yeah. Oh man, I couldn't do this without your team. And honestly, without Jeff and Sarah helping us out, and you helping us out in such a timely manner, it would be hard to buy in with every product that we have bringing into brought to us, right? It's okay. How do we make a clinical decision to utilize this right away, because there's so much information out there. But Jeff spending so much time, over the phone. Whenever we hop on a phone call, it's a 30-minute phone call, and just explaining, okay, this is what I would do. This is what I have done, and this is some literature, and these are some videos that I have on the back end of things. It's just looking at that has been so helpful. And then and the timeliness. So I just messaged Sarah. So obviously being in California, we had, I have a typical 15-minute drive, and I was like, perfect. I'm leaving at 3:30 and getting home in time to get into the waiting room with you two. And there's an accident inside the toll road that shut down all the lanes. So I called Sarah up, and she was back with me within 30 seconds. So like, don't worry, there's a back room. Jake and Matt know that they can entertain the crowd for a little bit. So so that's been special. And then yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, we pride ourselves. I mean, obviously it is all about, support, right? And having instantaneous access, and whether it's through our training modules, whether it's through our videos, whether it's through one-on-one, whether it's through one-on-one, scheduled with Jake, bringing together the different, clinics across the country so that we can collaborate. We're doing some very good and fun things with some patients. I mean, we've got a program going right now where we're helping out a stroke victim, and we're about to bring him on a Q&A, him and his son. And I don't know if I'll be able to get through that one without shedding some tears, just because when you see what you're doing physically for people because of this technology, it's unbelievable. And so that's kind of why we're here. That's our mission. I mean, our goal is to make sure that, we're helping as many people, we're helping you help as many people as we can, because at the end of the day, it is all about that, ability to train you, to be here for you, be supportive, because that's how you're going to be more successful, which is really the premise our whole company is built upon, is support. So appreciate that insight. I guess we'll keep Jake employed a little bit longer. Then I guess he's doing an okay job, and we'll give kudos to Jeff. I know he's out there, so that's good. But anyway, Jake, any questions?
Yeah, a couple, because you did mention something interesting about BFR, and we get a lot of questions like that from doctors. How can this be incorporated with blood flow restriction? So would you mind going into detail just how you incorporate it with the ARP technology?
Yeah, in every capacity. Obviously, you have the literature and research that shows the combination of. So if we take a step back, obviously the weight room is going to be the number one way you can gain muscle, right? You load the muscle up, and you have your parameters, and you back it up, and you have your macrocycles, microcycles, and depending on where you're at in your season, if somebody is in season and they are throwing 4 or 5 innings at a time because they're playing in a summer league with limited pitchers, and they have, they're topping out at the high 80s, low 90s, then we can't necessarily just continue to treat them with your typical blood flow restriction patterns, which is it's all, a lot of the research is endurance based, and you're learning how to activate a muscle for 30 repetitions at a 4-second tempo, and then 15 repetitions, so very slow. It's okay, let's go ahead and activate this muscle to fatigue with high weight still with blood flow restriction. So in that, a typical session in here would look like, okay, let's go ahead and scan the body and figure out where your deficits are. And then from there, like we talked about, even though if it's a shoulder issue that I'm seeing you for, let's go ahead and scan the leg. Let's go ahead and scan the quad, scan the glutes. And the blood flow restriction pattern can be set up to where you have something on the left arm, and then you have something on the right leg. And now you've got the RX unit or the PRS unit having an influence on both of those. So the combination of those two is going to be, similar in as far as challenging the athlete and gaining muscle and activation patterns, more so than without the blood flow unit and without the electrical stimulation. So that's it's pretty fun.
Wow, very cool. So I appreciate that, because it does come up a lot on, I think a lot of doctors are surprised on how this works in conjunction with a lot of those other technologies. That's a good one.
Well, let's ask some. I mean, if anybody has some questions, feel free to shoot them at Jake or on this. I think there's a way to however this is being streamed or however you're seeing this. Feel free to ask some questions. How can people get a hold of you, Dr. Jason? I mean, what's
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to put, I'll type it in the comments, but Obviously, we have a strong presence on Instagram. That's what we love. But I will type out our email.
Oh, there we go. There it is.
Right there, Mankind Physical
Sarah
Therapy.
is that it?
Sarah's on point like normal.
Yeah.
She's keeping Matt employed.
He's good.
That's perfect. But yeah, so that's one, and then like we said, we always welcome we welcome phone calls and text messages, but I'll send our number that you can call, text, whatever we want to do to follow up with that. But that's I'd love to get into some discussions. I always leave conversations learning more than I was able to teach. So it's definitely something I'm interested in.
Well, we'd love to see, and if you when you're working with some of your athletes, we'd love to get some video. If you put it on your Instagram, we'd love to put it to our Instagram and our social medias, because we've got a lot of clinics, a lot of athletes, a lot of trainers. So I think that's also very informative when they see somebody, actually, using the technology, whether it's performance, whether it's, recovery. I mean, all those are just such great, ways to try to stimulate other clinics across the country to learn more, or even, professional athletes and athletes that are using either the RX and or the PRS. So appreciate that. Wow. Well, this was a good one.
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Jason. I'm thoroughly impressed. This is good stuff.
Yeah,
What-
absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
and we do have other questions that came in, so we apologize not getting to those, but you can always reach out, info@ARPneuro, and we'll be happy to answer those. I do have a personal question though, because it was at the end, and you seem to have been all over the world, but specific points in the Philippines, Costa Rica, and Mexico, and you're treating people in another country. What was that like?
Gosh, it's crazy because in those settings, obviously they rely on a lot of support, and we got such small snapshots, because it's not like I just went in, into a random, a completely random place right there. I went into a few villages that had physical therapy kind of established, and I was learning what that looked like, and obviously in Costa Rica or Ensenada, we had a few other villages and homes we were a part of. But when we were in Costa Rica, we did have the opportunity to visit a few different settings. There were some of their basic physical therapy settings. There were times where we were knocking door to door and asking if everyone was, what they knew, if they knew what physical therapy was and how we could have influence on it. And then we went into, some nursing homes, we went into some women's and children's homes, and there, obviously, the connection is one thing, right? So to help and get an understanding of what that relationship looks like is really special. Just learning who the patient is. But on the other side of things, they did have pieces of technology like ultrasound that they relied heavily on, right? Or they had a very old TENS unit that was that was probably 10 years old, but still doing what it needs to do. And that's the cool thing about this technology, is that, what research said 50 years ago still applies as far as that. And so to have this, I'm sure would be, have a significant influence on those facilities down south, or wherever it is on the map.
Absolutely. That's a call to action for us to get over to Costa Rica. They have good coffee, by the way.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
I was in La Fortuna. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that area, but there's a coffee farm there. We used to love getting their coffee all the time.
You have to get their coffee. Absolutely.
Sounds like Jake needs to make a road trip.
Yeah.
We could expense this, right, Matt?
Yeah, well, you can expense the coffee, but the flight's on your own.
Got it.
Hey, that's not bad. That's not a bad gig. So
Well, Doctor, thank you so much for your time, and so glad you were able to spend the time with us tonight. We're gonna have to redo this. I mean, do it again, because there's so much more knowledge, so many more questions that I have, and I'm sure that our listeners have. So would love to get you rescheduled if you've got some time in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. You guys pick the date and I'm on there. Yeah. Because we'll have to get into the conversation of what you were talking about earlier, stroke victims and spinal cord injuries. A few clinicians come to mind when it comes to that, and to get this into their hands would be incredible.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Well, listen, have a great evening. Jake, as always, another great guest. So he made us look good. Well, he made you look good. He made me look good. You're already looking good.
You made us both look good.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys. Seriously, I had fun even just prepping for this. So, it's incredible. I look forward to the next one.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
Thank you, Dr. Jason.
All right.
Okay. Take care, guys.
Take care.